So this week what I want to talk to you about is transition. Okay, it's one of the questions that gets asked quite a lot on the internet. So I'm going to discuss today what is transition, and when do we transition, and how to train it as well. So come on, let's go do this. Transition, what is it? All right, it's something that gets a bit misdirected maybe on the internet, that I see a little bit. I see for myself anyway. This is my opinions, by the way. Transition is when you have what we call a backswing in the golf swing and a downswing. All right, and there's a point in the golf swing where your club's doesn't need to go any further back, and you've created movements in the body and in the stroke that's going to make the club want to then have to come back down towards the ball, and that's the transition point. So it's going from backswing to downswing, and that is really primarily what transition is. Okay, a lot of people use a lot of words, and for you guys that actually were a little bit confused, what does transition mean? That's what it means. All right, so it's as the club goes from backswing, it comes into downswing, and that's the transitional point. All right, and that's what I want to cover and talk about today. All right, in this video for you today, and I want to make sure you have a clear understanding of what that actually is, how we actually perform it, and then we're just going to give you some drills on actually how to do it as well. All right, so that's really what I want to sort of showcase and put to you, and give you some ideas that might actually help you to better understand it and better achieve it as well. Because if we get a good transition in the downswing, really it sets the whole swing up. You've set the momentum of the club going, and really from there you can't really hold it back. It's on its way down. If you set off on a poor transition, e.g. a poor transition would be, which is the most common one, where the club starts to come out this way, you've set the momentum off, the club's only got one way to go now, which is down and across to hit the ball. So if we can get the club head traveling in the right path and get it transitioning correctly and smoothly, you're going to get more distance, and also you're just going to hit the ball a lot better as well. So that's really what I want to sort of cover with you today. So with good transition, really, there's a couple of things that really happen during the actual stroke. Your body's going to be starting to come back down to where it was at dress. Okay, it's going to start to unwind or unload, if you want to call it that. And so having good body movement and how that works is really key, and it's really important to just have that second or two just at I don't like the word the top of the backswing, but there's just this moment where your club is continuing going on that way, so the momentum of the club is still going that way, and your body's going back this way. There's a sort of a separation of the two. All right, so club's going that way, body's going back this way. All right, and that's really the key to it. It wants to be as smooth as you can possibly make it. What we don't want to see is you go from here and hurry down as quick as you possibly can. So it's almost like there's a split second. They used to call it top of the backswing, well, they still call it top of the backswing, I suppose, but I don't feel like there is a top of the backswing. There's no point in time where you're actually swinging back, stopping, and then going through to hit the ball. Okay, and that's probably where mistakes happen with a lot of golfers. They get this thing of, right, I've got to swing to the top of the backswing, get that all correct. Once I've got it here, and then I move on. With the golf swing, it's a continuous movement, and that's what you've got to understand is, as the club head and the momentum's going back this way, there's a thing called inertia where that's almost like stopping. I have to get it to start, and I'm doing that with my body. Okay, my body's going to sort of get that trigger to happen. All right, so that's really key. Now, there's a lot of sports out there that actually help you to identify what that actually is. One of them, tennis. Okay, if I was standing here with a tennis racket, okay, yes, before any John McEnroe's out there tell me that I'm doing it wrong, that's not how you completely swing a tennis racket. I am not a tennis coach, but I've played tennis as a kid. I used to play it quite a lot when I was younger, and I never really used to have to think much about it. I know that sounds silly, and I'm sure if I gave any of you guys a tennis racket, you probably would complete the motion quite well. All right, so as your arm's sort of going backwards, my body's actually in preparation to go forward. All right, so as I'm swinging my arm back, my right arm to hit the shot, I'm actually prepping myself to go forward. All right, so that's transition. So I'm moving into my left side. All right, so as my arm starts to go back to about here, I'm moving up into that side to then be able to then move through and hit the shot. All right, so back, I'm moving up and then in, and that's good transition. All right, so I'm moving from backstroke to forward stroke. All right, same again if I have a baseball bat. All right, if you've seen it on TV, I'm right, okay, disclaimer here, guys and girls in Britain, we don't play baseball that much, all right? We tend to play more cricket, okay? Cricket is our sport, all right? And you could use a cricket bat as a guide to this as well. Normally cricket bats, as I was taught at school, and that's the last time I played cricket, to be honest with you, you would actually, as you take the racket back, you step into your left leg and then you brace into it, all right? So again, good transition. As I swing back, I'm stepping into it to then post into this leg to then hit the, you know, the block or whatever you want to call it. All right, same thing with baseball. All right, as you stand there, you would tend to have a stance as the arm starts to go back. I'm pulling the bat away this way. I'm then stepping into my lead leg. I'm stepping up, setting this leg firm to then set here to then push through, and that's how I'm creating a swing. Again, it's all about transition. I'm going back. Pressure goes back into my right leg. Very short. It goes back into that very short. All right, it's not like it's a long moving movement. I'm tending to go back to push off that leg here. I'm actually pushing off that to put into my left leg to then push back off this leg. All right, so I'm going back and up here, and that helps me to change the club's path. You know, we talked last week. We talked about shallowing the shaft. Well, this is a classic example. Okay, as I go back here, as I do that, naturally, as I transition, my hands move this way with me, and the momentum of the club or the bat will go back behind me, and that's what shallows the plane of the bat, the racket, the club, or whatever you want to use. All right, so using other sports is a great way of actually deciphering this and actually practicing this as well. You know, so I could say, example, if I grab my tennis racket, okay, I'm going to swing the club back, I'm going to change and transition. So as I go back, I'm changing and transitioning to swing through. All right, and that's a great way of getting the feeling and trying to uncomplicate it, which is really what I'm always after, of how to swing a golf club. So as I'm swinging back here, my body is moving forward. So as I swing back, I'm moving up into my left side. Now, what is moving up into the left side? And that's one of the key things as well. So how the body works, and really I'm going to focus I want you to try and focus on pressure in your feet. What does that mean? I can feel heavy. I can feel myself pushing into the ground. If I did this a little bit here, I can feel pressure, 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 pressure. I can feel the movement in my feet. We used to call it weight shift, but that's really about body mass, you know, moving this way and that way. And yeah, okay, that was great for a time, but it was found to be not very athletic or dynamic. It didn't create enough speed either. So what I'm feeling when I'm doing this, or a great way to feel this, is I'm putting pressure into my right leg to load up into, but as soon as my hands and arms get to about, I don't know, about knee high, or the club's about knee high, I'm actually starting to put the pressure now over into my left leg. All right, so I'm using that as a springboard to push into. All right, so push into, all right, and that's really what I'm after here. So really the technical parts of this, or what actually is happening during the stroke, is as my left arm's reaching to about halfway back here, I'm now starting to glide or move my hips towards the target. Okay, you can also pick on your knee as well if you want to, but really what we're working from is working from the ground up, and that's where this term comes from. Okay, I'm putting pressure into the ground. Okay, this is then putting me into a stable position here. My left leg moves up, my hips moving up, and then from here I can then use the ground that I've built and all this energy that I've put into here to then unload that and push away from the ground. All right, actually if I push into it, it naturally comes up. But that's the transitional point here. My hip starts to glide. I feel as though that I turn the right hip back, but then my left hip and right hip glide towards the target. And that just sets me in the right transitional movement. Okay, so as I go back from here, I'm just gliding up into my left leg. All right, so back, glide. From here then, the rest is just going to happen because you've got yourself into a good swing position. The second thing that I want to see happen from here is once I've set up that good glide, is that the club head then is then going to drop and just slightly go behind me a little bit here. I'm then going to try and catch that up. But from here, I'm just going to move up here. The hands and arms, I suppose, really just drop gently down in front of the torso. You can combine those two movements up here, then you've got a good chance of swinging through. All right, you can take your time doing it, take a bit of practice, but really you want to be trying to sort of set that movement to the left as soon as you possibly can. So, and through, okay? That sets you in good transitional movement to hit the ball. If you can do that, then seriously, you're going to hit some nice shots. You're going to get nice compression on the ball. You'll be amazed how accurate you'll hit it in the middle of the face. And that's really what we want to try and work on, is getting good transition. Okay, so use other sports, connect it to other sports if that's going to help you at all. One way that you can get a good feeling for this is just doing baseball swings, swinging the club out in front of you like you did here. So just getting a feeling is, as the club head's going back, you're moving forward, you're using the body to go forward. Okay, so as I go back, I'm moving up into the left side and then through. Okay, that's a great way of doing it. But I'm going to do some drills for you now that might help you to get a better understanding of the feelings that you need to get for doing this. So drill number one, all right, which is really easy to do. It's called the left, right, left drill. So what this, I had learnt this one recently from when I had a lesson with Mike Malaska, where we just felt like the weight went onto the left leg, moves over to the right leg, and then moves over to the left leg. And it all happens quite quickly. My hands and arms sort of just get carried along for the ride, but it really helps me to transition and use the ground to feel the pressure moving. Okay, and that's what I'm really after. It's a good drill. It's well worth giving it a go. You'll feel like you're hitting the ball almost too soon. You'll feel as though you only get into about here somewhere in the swing, but when you watch it on video, you'll be a bit further on because the momentum of the club carries on going backwards, as I said earlier, but you feel like you're getting into the left side. The beauty that I liked to this one was it felt like I could get to my left side earlier, which gave me loads of time then to start then pushing off the ground to try and hit the ball. All right, I always was guilty of not really getting through the ball correctly and sort of use my hands a bit too much and flip it a bit. But this one really helped me to just really get through it because I had all the time in the world, because I didn't have to go to the top of the swing, then push up to the left hand side and then try and work it, because by then it's all gone, it's done. You know, the golf swing is actually over. All right, so just get a feeling of, just pushing the weight into the left side. I feel like we used to call it a forward press many years ago. We used to feel like you just push, you maybe just slightly rotate the hips a little bit and just push forward into the left leg. This then has a rebound effect to going over to my right leg, and then I'm going to push onto my left leg. So left, right, left, all right, for all you right-handers out there. So all you're going to do is do it nice and slowly. Just going to go left, right, left, okay? And I really feel like I can do it. I'm starting to go to my left again on the forward swing when I feel like my hands and arms are getting about here. So I'm really doing it early. I've got all the time in the world then to actually unload and hit at the golf ball, all right? Give it a try. Okay. Drill number two, all right, it's a bit similar to drill number one, but if you're struggling with drill number one, it's not for you, then this is a good one as well to try. It achieves exactly the same result, again, exactly the same feelings, but maybe in a slightly different way, all right? So it's really cool. It's just a step drill, basically. You've probably seen it and heard it before, but really what was going to happen from here is I'm going to basically just put my feet, okay, actually I'll just get rid of this because I might hurt myself. But basically, you're going to set up to the golf ball as you normally would do, all right? You're going to just move your left foot up towards the right foot, and then as you're taking the club head back, as it's going back to about here somewhere, your left leg's then going to step forward, all right? So you're going to set up with your right foot close together, you're going to swing the club head back, step up, and then hit, all right? And that's going to just help you with getting a feeling of correct transition. It's going to synchronize it all up better. It's going to create that kinetic sequence in which we all hear and talk about, all right? So I'm going to set up to it. I've got it probably just opposite my left toe, if I'm honest with you, and I've got maybe 6 inches gap, 4, 5, 6 inches gap here, all right? Do it slowly to start with. Don't have to go hard and fast, but as I swing club head back, I step and through, okay? That just helps me with getting my transition correctly. If you notice, as I'm swinging the club head back to about here, I'm stepping up to the left. This helps me to plant into my left leg, and then I can just swing through to hit it. All right, it's a great drill, that one. Helps you with all your sequencing. It starts you from the ground upwards, which is what we really want. But yeah, give that one a go. It's similar though, you see, to your baseball bat, I'd imagine. You know, you see here, they start with the feet fairly close together, but as they come up, they take the stride. I think they call it stride. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. But as you start pushing the bat away across your body, this way, you step in, take the stride here, and that's here. So as the bat's going back, and then they move into transition, they push off that left leg. That left leg then pushes the hips back, and that's what creates that power, all right? From what I've seen on YouTube, hey? You learn anything on YouTube. So anyway, give that one a try. It's excellent. I like that one. third and final drill, okay? Another great way to do this is just to literally throw golf balls, okay, or throw a ball, because that will teach you everything you need to know about transition. It's an old technique. I've read it. I remember reading this many years ago when I was learning the game back in the late 80s, early 90s, and about throwing the ball, okay, and how that had the same feelings and the same actions, and it does. All right, it's probably one of the things that most people can do. They used to call it like skipping the stones. You know, when you're skipping the stones across a river or a pond. But it's the same thing, okay, as a throwing action. So as my right arm starts to go back, I'm moving up into my left leg. You do it automatically. So it's like nobody trains you to do it, but yet you do it. And yet in a golf swing, as soon as we say, right, transition or change direction, people get loads of things wrong because there's a lot of miscommunication out there. A lot of people, there's so much communication maybe about it and how we do it and technicals about it, but we forget sometimes how to do it naturally, all right? And this is a great way to just get those feelings back, okay? Is to literally just throw a golf ball at a net or down the range or whatever like that, just to give you the feeling or the kinetic feeling that you're going to gain. So as I swing back, I'm just swinging through, okay? But you can see how my leg works. It goes forward as my arm goes back, okay? This creates all the right chain of events that you need to hit a golf ball, okay? So as I swing, as I throw my arm back, I'm pushing forward, all right? And that's how I create the power with my arms and so on, and create the right release as well. If you notice, they go fairly straight at the net. If I was to delay the wrist and so on, it would go off to the right, and if I use my hand too much, it would go left. But you can see the movement that I create here. If I was to create more like the skimming the stones, I would actually stay low and I would create that movement. So, like so. And that you can see how I move up into my left leg. It's natural. I don't have to think too hard about it. And yet in a golf swing, we get too jumbled up and too caught up in techniques and so on and so forth. It's a natural movement. It's a movement that you can already make without too much thought or too much effort. Once you've thrown a ball a few times there into a net, then you've got to try and translate that into a feeling of the swing, okay? And you can do that, all right? I'd probably move to a 9-iron, probably just to be on the safe side. But all I would do is just get a feeling as though you're just that same feeling in the body movement as you swing through. So just swing back and swing through, all right? Take your time with it, just create that natural feel. You'll be surprised at how well you can actually do it. If you put it on camera, all those positions that we ever talk about on Instagrams, YouTubes and so on, you'll just naturally do. So give it a try and see how you get on. Okay, there you have it. That's transition, okay? Or at least my version of how you should transition, or at least train to transition, all right? I'm sure there'll be people that'll tell me that I'm wrong, or be people telling you that it's wrong as well. But it's important that we, I suppose, let's think about it. Over my 20 odd years of teaching golf, I've learned that it's about keeping it as simple as you possibly can. And you can get much simpler than throwing a ball into a net. If you can do that again and again, that say throwing the ball into the net, you'll actually learn to get the feeling for it. And you'll just get that repetition or those reps in. You'll start to feel the movement as naturally as you possibly can. It's then trying to translate that into a golf swing. But I promise you, if you keep doing it, you will get better. All right. So again, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like and subscribe below. And also have a great weekend, and hopefully I'll catch you at the next one.